What's going on, everybody? This is your host, Daft Kid, here on the EDM Filter Show. If you like all the content you've been seeing and hearing, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave us a like. Today we got some very interesting news. Let's get right into it. I just want to quickly remind everybody, do not forget to press the record button. Okay, so anyways, guys, welcome into another episode of the EDM Filter Show. We got a special episode today now. I get it. I know what everyone's thinking. I promise you guys we'd have a special guest. We do plan to have the special guest, but there's so much great information coming out, so much great DJ tech news. Guys, literally in the last episode, we're talking about Pioneer dropping a new mixer. And I kid you not, like 2 days later, they drop this controller, the brand new Pioneer DJ OPUS Quad. Now I have to say, guys, first off, try to keep this short. I know last time I said I really wanted to just give kind of like a brief explanation of the equipment because I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. So I can't really give you guys like an in-depth review. I highly encourage you guys to go on YouTube, to go on other channels or do your research on Google and whatnot on information about this new controller, showing how guys are using it, more in-depth explanations. I do really want to keep this video much shorter than the last one because we almost hit an hour in the last one, and I really intended only for it to be like 20 minutes. So let's try to hit that mark today. All right, so getting into this, quick overview. So we got this brand new controller from Mixer. Looks pretty sweet. It's got this new kind of modern futuristic design to it. My number one impression, just right off the bat looking at it, is, well, this is a pretty nice looking controller. And I think, though, more specifically, they designed it to be compatible with your living room, so to speak. Not everyone necessarily needs, and not everyone necessarily wants, you could say, the full-blown setup like I got right over here. This is definitely there's something you would definitely see in a club, and something that you maybe see festivals, performances like that. You don't necessarily need something like this if you're playing in your living room or in your bedroom. That's why I got this guy right here. That's right. That's my baby, everybody. That's like my that's my second son, I guess you could say, because my first son was an old Newmark DJ controller when I first started mixing. But this guy right here, in case you guys don't know, the Tractor S4 MK2. Right now they're on the 3. I would love to be able to get the 3. I really would. But if I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this controller right here has done me so well for so long. I mean, honestly, I look forward to making a review on the Mark III. I do plan to get the Mark III in my hands. Again, this is only the Mark II. It is custom plated, so in case some of you are wondering, like, wait, I've never seen one like that, it's because this one is has a custom plate on it. But this guy right here is pretty much been an all-in-one. If I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys, if Insomniac hit me up today and said, hey kid, you're going to be playing at EDC this year, and we're going to let you choose whatever equipment you want to play with, what do you want? I would say, this is all I need right here. This guy right here has got me through it all. And still, if I'm not mistaken, this was released, again, we're talking about the Mark II. This was released back in, I think, 2013, if I'm not mistaken, 2014 maybe. Since then, I mean, I've had no need to upgrade. I've had no need to really go elsewhere. I mean, I do have the Denons, of course, but, that's for more bigger stage performances, like I mentioned, the club, a festival, if you will. But if I ever want to put out a mix, if I ever want to just jam out, this is the guy to go. Okay, but let's get back here to the OPUS Quad. So just a quick little overview. It's a 4-channel standalone mixer, which is a pretty big deal now, because before you'd be able to use 2 channels, and which is interesting because it's like, wait, why would you put 4 channels if I can't really use all 4 channels? But you're able to apparently then, externally connect, another turntable or something. Or shoot, even a separate controller. I've had to do that before to record my mixes. not having the proper equipment to record it. So I have to send my output from, say, channel 4 to channel 1 of a different controller that has the capability to record. It has now a built-in Wi-Fi for cloud library sync. So I know a lot of guys out here, including myself, if you ever want to go play somewhere, you got the library, your library, or maybe say a specific playlist stored in like your Dropbox. This is perfect for that. You can now pretty much sync your Dropbox information to the controller. Has an XY touchpad for effects and improved echo feature. So XY pad, so now it's got the massive LCD screen right in the center on top. No more, so kind of how I was mentioning in the last video, the X1850 here has kind of like a bit of a touchpad to it, and now the new djing A9 has a bit of a touchpad to it, so you could play around with the parameters a little bit more creatively, if you will. And they've essentially implemented that now in this controller, so now you could really get down to the nitty gritty. And again, I highly recommend you guys check out some videos on just this feature alone, because I've seen some really cool things that's already been done with it, and I personally would totally see myself playing with that a lot. So now we got 2 sets of XRL output for different speakers.
Stop it. Get some help.
Oh! Somebody! Oh! He needs some milk!
Or sorry, XLR. I said XRL. Sorry. My apologies. So now essentially you can do, instead of you having 2 main outs. So actually I see this being very creative in someone's bedroom or household. So instead of just having 2 main outputs, say you got like a bass connected or a subwoofer connected to your system, your PA system, now you could connect up to like 4, or maybe if you have the right kind of audio interfaces or whatnot, you connect up to, I don't know, you could get very creative. You want to have like 16 speakers with your output, I'm sure you could do something with that now. So really cool. I definitely see that being very convenient, and I'm very curious to see how guys play around with that. You got customizable jog wheels now. So I would say one of the biggest takeaways of the jog wheel is that it's kind of rubber plated now. So I've seen mixed reviews on just this alone, because some guys don't like the feel, some guys kind of make it, or should I say, they feel like it's a little cheaper end product from Pioneer. So look, I'm not saying the controller itself is cheap, but definitely some of these guys are well respected world-class DJs have already come out and said, I don't really like the rubber feel, makes it kind of feel, the controller itself feel kind of cheap, makes the jog wheel not feel very responsive. I can't really give my opinion on that, because again, I haven't really touched it myself, but just by playing with other jog wheels before in the past that have like a rubber top to it, I don't necessarily see anything wrong, unless people were dealing with like a sweaty hand situation. I would think that helps a lot with the sweaty hands. It kind of gives a bit more of a grip compared to more like smoother platter like the SE6000s here. I think I mentioned before in a previous video, I have a sweaty hand, guys. Even if I'm not nervous or whatever, my hands still get sweaty sometimes. And so even when I'm playing, mixing out, just jamming to myself here in my Oasis that we have here, I still get sweaty, and that isn't necessarily an issue for me, because I know my my body, and I know how to deal with the sweat. But I could see though, if someone's using this controller for some kind of performance, I could see it kind of being an issue, I guess, in the middle of maybe some scratching, or you're trying to do some crazy transition, doing some kind of spin with the jog wheel, and maybe you might lose your grip or something. But again, I would think the whole point of this is to add to the grip. So I look forward to seeing more though on guys playing with it and really get their opinion, because so far I've gotten an even amount, 50-50 on the matter, and it's really going to depend. So we're going to see. So the next thing would be Bluetooth connectivity to separate devices, and more specifically to a phone. So one thing that I was emphasizing in the last video with the mixer, the djing A9, is that now you could have Bluetooth connectivity for individual channels. So I'd mention, hey, guys can get really creative with laptops or their devices. Being that this is a controller and this is kind of more of like a homey feel piece of equipment, this is a great feature to also add the Bluetooth connectivity to your separate channels, because whether we like it or not, let's say you are throwing some sort of event at your home or wherever at using this, And most likely it's very possible, especially depending on the kind of event you're doing, you might get a song request. So someone's going to come up to you and say, hey, you mind playing this song for us real quick? You might not have it in your current library, so you might want to just connect to your phone real quick and play that one song. And you could do that now with the Bluetooth connectivity. And hey, we could get even more creative. Let's say you have a bunch of mixes already set up, already laid out. You just play, let's say, a mix that's an hour or two long, but let's just say 1 hour for now. Very, very convenient, right there in your fingertips with your phone, whatever app you're using to play the mix, and everyone's happy. Very convenient, very cool feature. I personally would actually use this quite a bit just to get creative and see what I could really do with it. Look forward to what guys come out and say about it. Now this controller includes ESS technology, 32-bit high quality A, D, and DA converters. So very similar to the djing A9 and actually other Pioneer equipment, Pioneer DJ equipment. This is a great feature. For those who aren't very technical about this, don't quite understand, it's pretty much, only thing you should know is that it's got very high processing power within the hardware and the interface of the controllers. So any kind of file, any kind of music file that you try to import into the controller, it's going to read it quickly, it's going to read it accurately, and you're going to have all the information you pretty much need. You should have no hiccups unless you're somehow trying to, load up a PDF file or something in the controller, and then it's going to say, hold on, this isn't even the right file. So but even then, obviously, you can't play PDF. So, but what I'm trying to say though is you can pretty much now drop any kind of music file, and this controller is going to read it for you perfectly, and it's going to give you all the accurate information that you need. Big plus, big win. I like that. Seems to me like a standard, really, essentially, with the equipment that's coming out today. The controller now has a USB-C port in the back. Great. That was another feature that I mentioned for the djing A9 that I thought was really great. We are now moving into this phase of USB-C, so we kind of need this kind of new connectivity, right? Especially for a lot of us out here who have MacBooks. Mac is still, or Apple still seen as the industry standard to go with when it comes to music production and mixing and whatnot. So most of these guys, most of these DJs and girls have Macs, have MacBooks, have MacBook Pros. So the new ones that are coming out now pretty much all run just USB-C. Perfect, convenient, connected right in. You got your whole library. Again, everyone's happy. Good move by Pioneer. Last thing to mention is the Serato DJ compatibility, but isn't coming till the summer of 2023, which is it's not necessarily a bad thing. I would just say I am maybe slightly disappointed, because I would think with this kind of flagship technology and equipment that Pioneer DJ is dropping out, you would want to have this feature ready to go. They've had a lot of time now, and they've had a lot of criticism from a lot of people, from all the DJ communities for years now about implementing something like this. They're finally doing it, which is great, but it's not ready yet. Okay, well, I guess you could say it's a nice little teaser for guys who are looking to buy this, or girls. And hey, maybe, you prefer Serato over like a rekordbox, and that's just kind of your thing, your niche, which is great. But it would be a bit of a letdown, because it's like, well, if I'm kind of a Serato person, personally, I'm a Traktor guy all day. I can't be mad with Traktor, but we could get into that to a different time, of course. If you're a Serato person and that's kind of your thing, maybe you already know how to use rekordbox, but there's something about the software that it doesn't really quite allow you to get into the zone, right? It doesn't let you get into your full-on creativity realm. And so you really just want to use Serato, okay? And the rekordbox, having the knowledge of knowing how to use it in your back pocket's great, but you and I both know very well that you just really want to get down, and you won't really be able to unless you're using Serato. And so if you're looking out to get this controller, which is a very nice, neat controller, that might set you back a little bit. You might be disappointed, and you're going to be out here waiting for who knows how long. Now, they said summer of this year, but summer could be June, could be July, could be August. I wouldn't even be surprised if they push it out until like September or something like that. We will see. I personally, like I just mentioned, am more of a Traktor guy. I do like rekordbox. I like Engine from Den and DJ. Engine Prime. I think they're all great softwares. And same thing with Tractor. Tractor software has been really good to me over all the years. I really can't be mad at any of them. It just, I guess, would come down to personal preference, and many DJs that I know personally prefer Serato still over anything else. So I can see why they're adding this now, only it is a bit of a bummer that technically it's not ready. That's pretty much the overview of this new controller, guys. I'm going to just mention a few little more things in a bit more detail, and we're going to call it a day here. So going with the 4 channels, I already mentioned, so now you conveniently have 4 that you could play on the standalone controller. You no longer have to like route your 2 other channels, channel 3 and 4, let's say, to a separate device or whatever to be able to use it. You got it all right here, the standalone controller, so you can mix 4 different songs at the same time. Very convenient. I like that. I'm all about now these controllers having an LCD screen on the controller, because at least in my opinion, guys, I think like I already mentioned, you don't really need all this fancy equipment. At the end of the day, a nice solid controller will do. And even if you do plan to take it into a club, or even you were doing some crazy massive event like a festival, you can still rock out with the controller and no one's gonna really know the difference at all. And they're adding now integrated better sound quality cards and mechanisms within the controllers, so you got some great quality audio coming out either way. And that's kind of what was always the selling factor, from my understanding, when it came to buying turntables and mixers, let's say in the previous 10 to 15 years or so. It's been about better audio quality. Well, now these controllers, with the technology we have these days, could produce that club environment, festival environment sound quality. So why would you need something like this? Food for thought. Larger jog wheels, they're customizable with the LCD screen features. You're able to change the colors of the jog wheels. We already mentioned they're made out of rubber. And as I mentioned, some people are 50-50. Please, guys, if you had the opportunity to play with this controller, or you're going to, or you just have some thoughts to mention, please leave it in the comment section below. We'd love to hear every last bit of it. I'm all about bigger jog wheels. If you guys can see behind me, the jog wheels for the Mark II are actually kind of small. That's kind of been maybe the only thing I've never really liked about it, is they're a little small. But to be honest with you, if you're not really doing like scratching or anything like that, you don't really need the jog wheels to be that big. If you're really manually syncing up your BPM of different tracks together with the jog wheels, this does the job. I mean, you really don't need anything else. It's done the job for me just fine. But it has been kind of a thought for me that it would have been a little nicer to have a little bigger wheels, because it does give you that creativity pool of being able to do some more crazy, elaborate scratching with it. And I've already seen guys do some great scratching even with the little small jog wheels. So not necessarily an excuse, more like a personal preference, but I like the bigger jog wheels. The cue points. So like the new Nexus series turntables, your cue point buttons are right above the jog wheel. I think it's fine that they added that for this controller as well. I just don't like the feel of the buttons, because the buttons are kind of, and again guys, I encourage you guys to look up online to find out exactly what I'm referring to right now, but the buttons seem kind of cheap to me. Now again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not saying the controller in general is cheap, but I've actually kind of been more about at least what I thought was kind of a movement with all different brand DJ equipment, moving into rubber pads, rubber buttons. I think it gives DJs or anybody else the creativity to be able to really remix things on the fly, even if you're not using, let's say, cue points for certain tracks. You're able to really smash those buttons when you're, maybe dropping some sort of drum sample, or maybe you're, I don't know, some sort of sorry guys, I totally was trying to, I had 4 different words in my mind to say the same thing, but essentially what I was trying to say was a vocal sample. So, and the creativity really just keeps going on and on and on. So it just kind of depends on, what you guys really want to do with it. I'm all about using samples with mixes. I'm all about using samples and performances. I've seen guys do some crazy stuff with drum pads, and they're up there on the stage really just smashing these buttons, and I feel like that's part of the creativity when you're using this kind of equipment. And the problem with this controller is that these buttons feel like very cheap plastic. So the buttons are loud when you press them. Now, I will say the one thing that does help actually with the buttons being of that kind of material is that you could hear the click, right? So you could hear every single time you press the button. I can see that being very useful when you're syncing up songs. If you're using your cue points to sync up, say, a drop, or you're literally trying to do a transition using your cue points, it's nice to kind of sync with the beat with the button because you could hear every single click. That could be kind of neat. That could help with syncing up stuff. Overall, though, I would have really liked if they would have kept, with some rubber buttons. Again, kind of gives people the creativity to go wild, if you will, and be able to just in the moment, vibe out. And if they want to smash this button, they could smash it, and they'll be fine in the day. That button's still going to be there because it's designed to get smashed. These buttons, though, don't feel to me like they're designed to get smashed, and that could be an issue. It's an issue for me personally, not necessarily. I just don't really think it fits the aesthetic that they're trying to go for with the controller. It is trying to present a newer, modern, sleeker kind of feel and look. And the cue point buttons essentially doesn't fit, and maybe they'll improve it in the future. But as of right now, you still got a bunch of cue points. They're right there laid up in front of your jog wheel. Very convenient, and still neat. So again, guys, let me know if you guys have any opinions on that, and I would love to hear how guys play around with those cue points, actually using the kind of feel and the sound that it makes now with the clickety click and clack, which is essentially what it is. It's clickety clacketing. And so please, guys, let me know what you guys think. So the display, the LCD screen in the middle, pretty much gives you all the information you need, right? Just as any other controller, if you will, or even turntable, and it has an LED screen. It gives you all the basic information about your track as you need it. But what I really like, and something that actually the Mark III of Traktor did that I really liked, is now they have an individual LCD screen for your for the actual jog wheel. So above the jog wheel, you have a little mini LCD screen that tells you all the basics of your song. BPM, you see your waveform, you will see the time measure of your tracks, and I think that's really cool. I think that's convenient, lets you really focus in on the single track and not allow yourself to potentially get confused or jumbled up with all this information on the bigger screen. Maybe you might want to just keep the bigger screen for your library information, have all the songs that you have ready to play in your playlist or whatnot right there in front of you. Very convenient. That way you keep track of what you're playing and where you're going to play next. So I think it's perfectly fine that there's a dedicated now screen just to give you the basic information of the current song you're playing or the song you have loaded in your deck. Great addition. I think that's a great move. If I were to get a little picky here or a little technical, I'm not sure, and mind you guys, this is technical, I would admit it, but it is something that is food for thought. As I mentioned, I like the little LCD screen that's above the jog wheel to give you individual information of your track. I'm all for guys using the bigger LCD screen for, say, your library, or maybe you have track or channel C and D or track 3 and 4 being queued in, so you want to see it on the LCD. I mean, it gets very creative. The possibilities are essentially endless. I'm just bringing up a couple examples. But if I'm going to get picky here, guys, I don't like that the individual LCD screen, and actually even technically the bigger LCD screen, the frames for it, it's a little low. We're in 2023 now. These guys are coming out with this great equipment that costs a lot of money, mind you. This stuff goes for US over $3,000, specifically $3,200 is the price for this controller. I would think that in 2023, the least they could do is give us LCD screens that hit us with, say, at least 60 frames. Unfortunately, it seems to me like these are, I don't know, between the 20 and 40 range, something like that. Guys, if I'm wrong on any of this information, please let me know. I'm not trying to bash down Pioneer in any way, shape, or form right now. But if I'm going to give my personal opinion, I am a little disappointed because I now use products that range in the 120 frames and higher. So now that I'm used to a smoother screen, so to speak, even if I'm over here in whatever, the club, at some event, or even in my bedroom, I want to be able to really look at this information I'm looking at on this screen and let it process through my mind smoothly, and not get distracted that the numbers are stuttery or juttery or anything like that, and it's all kind of choppy looking. Again, guys, I'm just getting a little technical here. End of the day, will you still be able to see the information just fine? Yes. Are you gonna get blinded or anything like that? No. But again, I just now have a preference with my devices that I use and the refresh rates that I like to use, or in the range I prefer. And these screens seem to still be below 60, which is a bit of a disservice in my opinion, because we are in 2023 now, and we technically have the technology to produce up to like 300 frames and higher TVs and computer screens and you name it. And here's Pioneer DJ charging you over $3,000 for this controller, and they're hitting you with an LCD screen that doesn't even hit 60 frames. Just gonna put it out there, guys. I think that is not okay. I think Pioneer, and really honestly all the other DJ brands and equipment, can improve on. Again, it's not gonna make that big of a deal in the long run, but I think once guys begin to see more and more what I'm talking about right now, I do think down the line it's gonna make a difference. So I'm curious to see how that aspect is improved, but I think at the end of the day everyone's going to be just fine. So as I mentioned, with Bluetooth now, you could essentially sync your libraries to your controller. So I have to say though, guys, I'm disappointed that Pioneer's coming out with such an expensive piece of equipment, and you still can't stream on there. You still can't use services like Spotify, BeatSource, Beatport, Tidal, if you will. You still can't use these great streaming services to play off of your equipment, which is why then I had to still give Den and DJ the edge here, because that is actually one of the biggest reasons why I bought the SE6000 bundle here, is because I can now stream on the turntables. So if someone does have a song request, if maybe what the kind of playlist I put together for this event isn't quite working out, I need to change the vibe quick, I need to come up with some sort of solution to make sure everyone's happy, I got like 4 to 5 different streaming services that can help me with that, and I could literally find every and any song that exists and play it for my crowd. I think that is so convenient. I think that is legit, other than Bluetooth connectivity, is the greatest feature in DJ equipment today. And again, that's why I decided to go with Den and DJ, or at least with this bundle. Not to say that I'm against Pioneer in any way, shape, or form. Not to say I don't want to buy Pioneer equipment, because actually that would have been the very next thing I wanted to do, was buy the Nexus series bundle, just like these guys over here. But unfortunately, as you guys know, that does cost a lot of money, and I do already have these bad boys, so maybe I could save a little bit of my money a little bit and wait to get those bad boys in my hands as well. But as of right now, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a bummer. Maybe I'm speaking as someone who's been spoiled with the feature that the Den DJ SE6000s offers for the streaming services, and now to me it's like, okay, this has to be moving forward a standalone, normalized feature that pretty much any new equipment that comes out, anything that comes out, needs to have and should have. Please, guys, let me know in the comment section below what you think about that. Do you guys think it should be a feature that should be automatically included in everything that comes out now? Am I, exaggerating a little bit? That's, a bit of a bummer or whatnot? Leave us a comment in the section below. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, people are going to be just fine. People are going to be able to survive. The guys who really know what they're doing out here are going to have their playlist set up just perfectly fine. They could record box it in, they can drop box it in, and I'm sure there's other forms of files that you could drop it in. I might not be fully aware of right now in this moment, or maybe they might implement it down the line. We'll see. But just the fact that you can still like drop box your stuff is just fine enough. It's great enough. Very convenient, great feature to have. And again, as I mentioned, if you're someone who knows what they're doing, has been experienced playing at events, you're going to have all the songs you need. No one's going to be mad. You're not going to have to change up your vibe or anything like that. But again, it's hard to say that it's not convenient and it's not a sweet feature to have the streaming services right there on your fingertips. You don't have to pull out your phone. You don't have to use extra equipment. It's integrated right there, right in front of you. I would have loved for them to do the same for this controller, being that they are essentially kind of trying to create this homebody kind of vibe, although it does have the specs for you to take to a club and jam out. So We'll see if they add this in the future. I look forward to an update where they add that. Again, we already mentioned that, they want to bring in Serato, but it's not ready yet. So that's kind of very disappointing in itself as well. But that doesn't take away from the overall features of this controller. So as we're already talking about the main LCD screen in the front or on the top, it's got improved features. You could look at way more information now, way more in depth. You could sync up all your information to where it's showing you specific things at specific times. You could only see tracks by, say, their BPM and all these different things, their key, if you will, things that technically other equipment already does. But the format in which they did it, it's nice to read. It's convenient, and it's not overall. It's not difficult. You're not gonna get lost in the parameters of this screen. You're not gonna get lost in the features. I would say for someone that's intermediate or above when it comes to mixing, it is all well put together. You're not gonna have a hard time navigating through it. Maybe if you're a beginner, it's gonna seem a bit overwhelming, but it's because you're starting off. Everyone else, though, I think is gonna agree that all the features and settings now that you could implement in the controller itself and have it affect whatever music is or output is coming out with the controller is only to improve anything you're trying to do. I don't think I could say there's any negative to take away from this. It just seems like it's now getting better and better. Other than, like I already mentioned, the streaming services they don't include, I can't find anything else right now that's an issue or that's bad or they need to necessarily improve on. But hey, we'll see. I look forward to them coming out with an update that might add a new feature, including the streaming services. Utility window, as I already mentioned, all the settings. Now you're able to really get down to the nitty gritty of Bluetooth connectivity, where output's going where. Kind of like the OI feature that IO feature that the djing A9 now has. You could route your signal in different ways now, and it's interesting because unlike the mixer, the djing A9, it's now integrated within the screen, so it's all touch and you could do a lot of things on the fly. Unlike the mixer, it's also kind of like physical touch, if you will. That's not necessarily like an issue, but maybe some people, especially those who are very how would you say, phone lovers, if you will, who are really good at navigating on their phones or using touchscreen devices, they might prefer using this touchscreen to navigate through their settings than physical knobs, if you will. Doesn't take away though anything. I just think it's a different way of looking at the same features. It's a more modern take at looking at the same features. And again, if you're using this equipment at your home and you're throwing a party or some kind of event, you have some friends over, they're gonna be looking at you playing with this thing and be like, wow, this thing is really cool. So I think that's kind of what Pioneer was trying to go for, and if they were trying to go for that, I think they kind of nailed it for the most part. Now you have the USB 3 in the back, which are USB-C. So as I mentioned in the previous video for the djing A9, you now have the connectivity for USB-C, which is great because, as I mentioned, most DJs, producers, you name it, engineers are most likely using a MacBook Pro for their convenience of moving around with their music and their stuff. So they're going to want to use a USB-C port, and they're going to need a USB-C port. I think it's great that Pioneer is now moving in that direction. I wished what I had here behind me had that kind of connectivity, but does it take away from what I could do with it? No. It just means that, if I want to connect my laptop still, I'll just have to use a different USB. For example, a USB 3 instead of a USB-C. It's still going to give me the same results essentially. I mentioned in the previous video, maybe you might do it like processing power or something, but realistically speaking, you won't, because I'm pretty sure the laptop you're using is powerful. The processing power in this equipment is really powerful. And essentially they designed these cables to be high speed. So if you are dealing with any kind of issues, most likely it's the software within your laptop maybe tweaking. It could maybe be the software within the equipment. I highly doubt that, but it's very possible. I don't think the cable is going to be an issue, but it comes down to convenience. It is very convenient that they added that. Alright guys, that has been pretty much an overview of everything in regards to this controller. I know I did not go fully in depth as I mentioned in the beginning. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't really show you guys exactly everything I'm talking about. But as I mentioned, guys, if you do your research online, there's plenty of different sources you can look into that will go in depth with this controller. I wish I could be part of one of those sources, but I hope the source you're looking at right now is good enough for you to just get the basics of this controller. So quickly, overall impression, very nice, very neat, very sleek. Would I buy one? Absolutely, actually. Pioneer's already come out with different controllers that are pretty much like replicas of an entire Nexus series. And I mean, those are amazing for like clubs and festivals because it's got everything. It's an all-in-one, no doubt. This is also an all-in-one, but it's a little bit more basic. It doesn't seem as overwhelming and complicated when you look at the face of it, right? These other controllers got so many knobs and so many options and different wording, and I could totally see someone who's starting off, or maybe he's like more into intermediate level, trying to upgrade their current equipment, looking at this and being like, whoa, what did I get myself into? This is like pro level stuff. Well, for one, it is pro level stuff, but so is this. But the format in which they designed the face is like more user friendly, if you will, and not so more technical friendly, which isn't a bad thing, because if you want to get technical with this thing, that's what that big LCD screen in the front is for. You could really get creative with the parameters and the settings that's built within it, and you're not really missing much. If I had the funds right now, I might just go out and get it to have something for me here at home so I could play for myself, family, friends. I think it's a very nice looking controller. I could totally see some of my friends hanging out right next to me just to look at it and just to see how it functions in real time. And I wouldn't blame them, because I do think Pioneer was trying to get that or create that kind of vibe, that environment for all level DJs to have something they could have conveniently in their home, has all the features you need and more. And of course, it's going to produce that great sound quality that we all want. Can't be disappointed. Overall, I think this is a great piece of equipment. I look forward to see any new updates that come out. I look forward to see the Serato implementation. Again, a little disappointed they don't have that ready now, but I'm sure that whatever's coming out later this summer, it's going to be great. It won't disappoint. Anyways, guys, that's my overall impression. I would highly recommend you guys go get this if you have the funds, but if you don't have the funds, I would just say you're fine. Save up some money if you can. You don't need this right now, although this would be a great addition to whatever you have. Maybe you already have one of these older controllers that are completely engineered and designed for the clubs. All the different intricate knobs and wordings like I've mentioned, what can be very overwhelming to intermediate players. Maybe you already have something like that. I would say then, do you need to upgrade to this? No, not really. Sorry. No, I don't mean these guys. I mean the OPUS quad. But do you really upgrade to the OPUS? No, you don't. I think on the contrary, what you have might be a little better in certain aspects still. Other than maybe not having like Bluetooth connectivity or something like that, or the USB-C input, output. I think what you guys just fine. You don't need the upgrade. But if you're, a DJ enthusiast who just wants to collect everything that he or she can, I would highly recommend you bring this into your list or into your library, into your collection. Again, you will have people looking at your equipment when you play at your next event with this thing, and it's just fun. I think it's fun, and I think that's exactly what Pioneer wanted to do, and make it essentially inspiring for new people, men and women, to become DJs. Anyways, guys, this has been Daft Kid, your main host here of the EDM Filter Show. Again, guys, please don't forget to follow us on all social media outlets. We literally have a profile for almost everything. If you have any questions, inquiries, please email us, edmfilterradioshow@gmail.com. This has been the EDM Filter Radio Show. I can't wait to see what's in store for the next episode, guys. Hopefully we could have our special guest, but even if we can't, we got a lot more great information coming your way. Honestly, I'm just waiting to see what Dan and DJ does now. How are they going to respond? Because Pioneer was really trying to lay it down. I mentioned in the previous video, the DJM A9 was like a message, for the two powerhouses of who's in control. This is one more step to DJ superiority for Pioneer DJ. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next episode.